Welcome back to the Shadow Signal, where I provide you with the well kept secrets of thriving in all aspects of your life. Today, I'm going to share an incredibly personal story with you. It's how someone else's story of struggle drastically impacted the way I now perceive and navigate the world around me. And if you asked me a couple of years ago if I thought one story could do this, I would have definitely said no, and that there was a highly unlikely probability that one story would shape me so profoundly. I've always looked at personal evolution as something that takes place over the course of years, not over the course of a moment. So, this story I'm going to share with you taught me so many lessons and absolutely changed my life. And I hope it impacts yours as well. So, a couple years ago, back when I was in a bad spot with my family, my brother was a full blown drug addict and was on the streets. Every day was a crisis, and it felt like every day could be his last on the planet, given his destructive ways. This impacted me so badly that I took some months off my demanding career to try to get back to a better place. I took the opportunity to ditch the computer screen to focus on my own well being. I read every day, I exercised, and stayed active. I started to feel like myself again. One other thing I picked up, though, was reading people's stories online of their life struggles. And while this brought me pain, it was a way for me to keep validating myself that my struggles were real and that it was okay to struggle. And it felt strange at the time, but looking back, it makes a lot of sense to me now. So one day I came across this one story that absolutely changed the way I live my life. It was written by a teen from a poor country who was taking care of a street cat that had an incurable virus. He would spend the little money he had to feed the cat until the pandemic caused prices to rise too much due to inflation. Medicine was certainly not possible to afford either. Even so, he would do his best to take care of his cat, wiping its nose and petting it every day. As the days and months went by, the cat was getting thinner due to its illness, and the teen said that he always knew his cat was going to die soon. And that was the point in the story. I felt a kinship with this person I'd never met in my life. That's exactly how I felt about my brother. He was wasting away, and that I knew deep in my heart he was going to die soon. And that I had no control over it, no power over the situation. That was the part that I found especially difficult to grapple with. The teen explained that eventually his cat died and was buried by his neighbor, and that's how he found out. He blamed himself for the cat's death due to poverty, and blamed himself for not spending enough time with his cat in its last days due to his studies. And finally, he said that he was probably a killer and that he should have starved to feed the cat. And just recounting the story is making me tear up a little bit. Here is probably the most selfless person I've read about in poverty, just trying to get by, yet helping as much as possible for another living being. The story also really resonated for me as a cat owner. I love my cat, and I would be devastated if she were to die. So I get the pain that a loss like that could cause. I recall I was home alone at the time I was reading the story, and you know that feeling when you need to throw up, but you're resisting because you hope it'll just go away? That's how I was feeling emotionally. I went to lie down and I started bawling my eyes out, like full on weeping, which is quite unusual for me. And my cat was there in bed with me, sat by me, and I felt so grateful more than ever to have her in my life. It honestly took a while for me to recover reading the story. It was the perfect storm of a personal crisis I was facing, a story with parallels in an odd way, and really challenging myself regarding the life I was living too. There were thoughts about, was I living in a way that was virtuous and up to the standard that I would hold for other people? And I realized how much I complained about everyday living in the end. Like that term first world problems, like that was my life. Like the amount of bullshit that I would let bother me became so transparent to me. I've lived this relatively blessed life, and sure, I've had my challenges like everyone else, but I was never that poor, and honestly, never that selfless. And I felt a bit ashamed that somebody in a much worse situation than my own could be more giving and generous. What did this say about me? Well, to me, it said that I think it says about a lot of people in America, not just me, that we're programmed to the negative. We're used to our conditions and feel it's our God given right to complain about the dumbest shit. We are so entitled. And after a couple weeks of internalizing the story and looking deep within myself, I realized that there are a few things I had to do to change. for myself, but also to honor the teen and his cat, since they were the ones that unlocked my mind. I had a lot to thank for them. So I decided the first thing I would do is sponsor a child from a teen's country, which I've done now for over a year. And it's been a super rewarding experience to have that connection, giving back and seeing someone's life improve. And it's been a real inspiration for me. And it feels like I'm doing something positive with that feeling from the story, that I'm making a difference in that community. I also decided I would take a step back if I were making a mistake in life or I was annoyed by something, no matter how big it was, and remind myself of the story and ask myself, does it really matter? And 100%, I would come to the conclusion that my displeasures were petty. I've also made a point of doing one good deed for someone every day, even if it's like a very small thing, like letting someone into traffic, into my lane when I don't need to. Um, I try to do more than that, but just one thing every day to bring positivity and let the a small ripple of things getting better come from me. Basically, I realized I had to be a better person. And that can be difficult for one to admit, but when one admits that, that's the beginning of the journey for improvement. And putting my own struggles in perspective has been a game changer. And it's been something that's been really empowering because I just don't let stupid shit bother me anymore. I mean, I did mention about my brother. Like, obviously, I have some real problems too, but that's the case for most people. So, in those cases, I don't deny it or try to suppress them. But there's always the possibility of even the bigger problems, putting them in perspective and reminding oneself if you don't have any control over the situation, then it's probably best to accept the situation for what it is, and also recognize and validate that it's a tough situation to deal with. But yeah, and 95% of my problems, like 19 out of 20 times, it's not really a problem. It's a first world problem. And while that story still makes me feel sad when I recount it, I'm so grateful I was exposed to it because I've become a better person from it. Let me know if you've had any powerful, unexpected stories like that in your own life. I'd love to hear about it. I love hearing about those stories. Um, put it in the comments below, and I'll definitely respond to them. And if this video resonated, like and subscribe. It helps me and the YouTube algorithm know that I should be making more content like this. Until next time, hope you're having a great day. Bye.